we're in something new. We've not been here before. Much has been lost, but we're finding out more about what matters most, our purpose, and whether we'll drift further apart or draw closer. Together. This series of podcasts is intended to bring some perspective in this time of great change. It's unrehearsed and largely unedited. It's just people telling their stories about how they're managing right now. Some are helpful, others are just fun, but they're all intended to foster one thought. In a time when we're being asked to stay apart, there are ways that we can stay together. And today I bring you Robert Cairns.
My name's Rob Cairns, and I actually live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So,
okay,
one of Canada's biggest cities.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. How has it been for you then? So the idea of this little podcast, we're renaming it temporarily, called Together, is the idea, and we're trying to highlight things which are a bit different, a little bit unique, something positive that's come out of it. And you've obviously got in touch. You've got something to say, so the floor is yours, Robert.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think we need to do without going through, and we were kind of talking offline about all the numbers, they're just growing. I think what it's doing in Canada, I think it's reuniting the country a little bit. We seem to have a lot of people on the same page, leaders, business owners. Now, there's a few rogue ones out there, but frankly, they won't get my support. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good things for people, offering to help people, to unite businesses. I mean, even myself, I've jumped in at ad and basically said, anybody wants a 30-minute marketing consult, get in touch with me. I'll give it to you for free, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about over Zoom or over another avenue, a little bit about your business and help you. I think there's a lot of help going on and a lot of goodwill going on. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, we seem to have the same kind of thing in the UK. There was a clarion call put out probably about 24 hours ago to enlist assistance for the National Health Service, so the hospitals, if you like, and doctors. And when I last looked, it was in a 24, 48-hour period, over 500,000 people had put their name on that list that they were willing to help. And there's an awful lot of things that have come about. I've noticed a sort of proliferation of Facebook groups, geographically based Facebook groups. You know, so then maybe there's a Toronto one, but where I live in Scarborough, one popped up and became very popular very quickly. And the purpose of which was to kind of unite people who were willing to do anything, something, with those people who were incapacitated and couldn't leave. So in most cases, it seems to be delivering shopping to elderly people who've been asked to stay at home. So there's loads of altruism coming out of it, I think.
No question. I mean, I have a good friend of mine by the name of Jeff Brown, and he's in Nova Scotia. So the entire country's been hit with this mess. And he came to me last week and said, he's a teacher, and he teaches social media, and he's moved all his social media classes online. And he came to me last week and said, would you join one of my classes? They're kind of down, and give them some positive. And we spent like an hour and a half going through each person's business in the class, just trying to help them out and give them some positivity. Because honestly, your mental health is as important right now as your physical health. And that's a big impact as well, with everybody being stuck inside and everything else.
Yeah.
So.
Are you managing to make sure that your physical side of things is taken care of? I more recently have been using an exercise bike because I just have had it and it's sort of been dusted down, if you know what I mean. I'd put it away for a couple of weeks and out it came, and so that's good for me. But I realise a lot of people are struggling to work out how to keep fit in this day and age. And
Yeah, I still go for a walk every day.
Okay.
You can go for a walk, and the rule of thumb on going for a walk is if you're living with somebody, you're breathing their air so they can go with you,
Hmm.
but social distancing from everybody else. So no stopping and saying hi to the neighbors, no stopping and saying hi to people out. Keep your 6 meters 2 feet apart. You're 6 feet apart, all that stuff. And if you do that, you're fine. So I'll go for a walk, but that's about it. I mean, I'm normally out a lot, and even during my business day, and I'm not out the time I used to be out just because of all this. So.
Have you found yourself kind of reconnecting with people that maybe you'd lost touch with, or making more of an effort with the people who you were keeping in touch with? I don't know, more frequent phone calls or more frequent chats on the internet?
I would say in my case, I'm probably talking to people more frequent that I talk to on a regular basis. I think people you've lost touch with, for me, a lot of that, unless it's just being busy, there's a reason you lost touch with them. So I like to leave bygones be bygones kind of thing.
Yeah.
For one example, I normally talk to my mom once or twice a day, and my mom's 75. So, and right now I'm probably talking to her 5 or 6 times a day. So with certain people, the calls have increased. I think we just got to take care of each other in all of this and try. And if that's a phone call or an internet chat, go ahead and do it, because I think it matters more right now.
It's quite interesting, the sort of proliferation. I'm definitely speaking to my parents a lot more as well. So in a strange way, it's brought us together. I mean, we weren't estranged or anything like that. We communicated fairly regularly, but I'm definitely making more of an attempt to do those kind of things. And I've heard stories while I've been recording this little podcast series about people doing all sorts of interesting things to keep up with their friends, like organising like a dinner party where the phone is propped up so that the camera can see what's on the table, and your friend or family member who's at the other side of the world will be doing the same thing and share a meal together and enjoy it. And I've heard of a few services that are enabling people to, I don't know, do gaming together, but also things like watch Netflix together. Somebody told me earlier today about something called Netflix Party, which is you can go to netflixparty.com, I believe it is. Yeah, that's right. And it enables you it synchronizes the Netflix episode that you're watching with a bunch of other people. So you're watching the exact same moment of Netflix at the exact same time, which I just think's great.
Yeah. It's actually a Chrome extension, I believe.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Because I heard about that on another podcast.
Yes.
And I'll give you another example. My wife has been playing games with her daughter over the internet on Saturday and Sunday, because unfortunately her daughter works in the travel agency and she's laid off right now with all this going on. So they were sharing some playing games over a Facebook app, and they were playing remote games. I think there's a lot of people that have even gone back to traditional board games. I know I called my mom the other day, and my brother was in the process of slaughtering my mother in a game of Scrabble, and they were at the kitchen table, and I had another friend who he's retired, and he was going back into doing puzzles with his wife. So we're all getting pretty creative on what we do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big change. It's not a change that we necessarily wanted, but it's a change that we've got. And I'm finding all sorts of interesting things that are coming back into my life, and games, puzzles, jigsaws, those kind of things were something that I'd completely forgotten about, but they've managed to be dusted down and make a bit of a reappearance. There are definitely some positives to this. It isn't all negative, despite the fact that it, looked from, probably with history, with the benefit of hindsight, we'll look back and think, well, that was a really terrible time. We don't want to go through that again. But living in it, there are little wins and little moments that you can enjoy. I'm lucky enough to have a garden where I live, and so I can go out into the garden, and I'm going into the garden 100 times more than I would have done before, because I'm forced to do things, and noticing flowers emerging that I didn't even know we had. Noticing, the bumblebees floating around, pollinating everything, just being a bit more a bit more in the moment and mindful of everything.
Yeah, I think, and I agree with him. Being mindful is really important. I'm a big person who's big on mindset. So I take care of my head as much as I take care of my body. And I think whatever you got to do to take care of your head that's positive at this point, you do, because I think, and I'm not really a meditation guy. I tend to listen to music. I was saying to some people this week, somebody said to me, what are you doing? Because I'm actually very much a sports guy. So my diversion at night is sports. And as we know, there's no live sports going on right now. So I'm kind of been at night catching up on a lot of business stuff. I've got some video stuff I want to watch. I've got some stuff I want to listen to. So I've been kind of catching up on that. My wife we fortunately have really good internet where we are.
Yes.
And my wife has been on a streaming binge, and that's about the word for it. I mean, yesterday it was Netflix, the day before it was Disney, I think the day before it was Amazon. It's choose one. And little tip for anybody listening, and the companies don't want me to say this probably, but there's all kinds of free trials out there. So if you don't have a streaming service, go sign up for one and just cancel it.
Well, fair enough. I think that's fair enough. I mean, that is what the service is there for. It is interesting. The internet has become a much more significant thing, I think. Whilst it was how should we describe it? It was a nice thing to have. It feels to me like it's become much more of a utility, much more of a...
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a couple of years. I mean, I was telling you before we came offline, I worked in healthcare during SARS.
Yeah.
And 12 years ago, the internet, we used it to connect to work via VPN for secure connections for support reasons, but it wasn't what it is now. And now we've got major companies that do remote workers. So I'll give you an example. I have a good friend of mine with a major bank in Canada. And they typically have 80% of their IT staff work from home. Right. And with all this explosion, they've got more and more people. And they actually had to put a change in last weekend to increase their VPN capacity because their infrastructure's just being taxed right now with everybody at home. So I think the internet is no longer a luxury. I think it's a necessity in this world.
And it really has enabled us to do all sorts of things. This crisis would have been significantly worse had we not had that backbone already in place. I'm thinking back to periods in the long distant past where epidemics similar to this, shall we say, came around, and isolation would have been a real thing. It wouldn't have been self-isolate but have a chat with your mum on your mobile phone. It would have been just total isolation. So I think in that sense we can be super thankful that we're able to stream Netflix. We're able to chat with one another, me chatting to you on the other side of the planet in a way which was previously unimaginable. It very, very lucky in an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, we take that for granted. And I often say, like, if everybody likes to complain about the pitfalls of the internet, and I always say, I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world. I have friends all over the world who I talk to regularly. I mean, I talk to people in India. I'm talking to you in the UK. Yeah. I've talked to people in the States pretty regularly. I'm pretty lucky that way. And
it is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think we've probably used up our time, Rob. I hope that's all right. Thank you very much for chatting to me.
You're welcome. Be safe, be well. And to everybody out there, just do me one favor this week. Stay home.
Stay home.
Really, and I mean that. Stay home.
Solid advice at this point of time. Stay at home. Yeah. Thanks very much, Rob.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
At a time when we're staying apart, creative ways of staying together are so important. I hope that you found something of use here, a new idea, or perhaps just a smile. Stay safe, stay together.